We are here to accurately represent the people that represent you.
What do you think about Eric Swolwell just resigning?
We need a purge, and then I'd really like to get back to the business. He's not looking too good, so Corey needs to probably have a reflection amongst himself and see what he wants to do. There's probably a dumpster fire in Sheila McCormick's office that needs to go.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Jackson Buhai here with TMZ, and welcome to the first episode on YouTube of TMZ DC. Now, I'm coming to you straight from Capitol Hill, as you can tell, and less than 24 hours ago, Eric Swolwell announced his resignation amid the sexual assault allegations against him. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing here at DC. Now, over the past few days, we're now on day 3, we have really been going up to congressmen, to senators, to other people that work in our government, and we have been asking them the questions that you guys are dying to know about. Now, for an example that I think is really funny, let's roll the clip of Charlie finding Lindsey Graham on the way to his office, asking him about the notorious bubble wand picture.
Lindsey Graham, how are you, man? I'm from TMZ. Could I just ask you about the bubble wand, sir? Can I just ask you quickly about the bubble wand?
Now, as I'm sure you can probably tell by that video, Lindsey was not so open to talking to us, but I also want to highlight we're not just here for fun and games. We are here to accurately represent the people that represent you. Now, we also ran into Ted Cruz, and we wanted to approach him regarding Trump's recent feud with the Pope, along with the recent situation regarding Eric Swolwell.
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
I've got a question for you. Are you on the Pope's side or the President's side?
You know what? I'm quite confident both the Pope and the President can speak for themselves.
Well, they're going through a very public sort of beef right now, and they're both.
I understand you want to get me in the middle of that. I trust both of them to express their own views.
Do you think that the President is doing the right thing by taking on?
I've given you my answer. You can keep asking and get the same answer.
What do you think about Eric Swolwell just resigning?
Couldn't come too soon.
Right. I've heard it was an open secret around DC that these allegations were swirling. Those are the reports. What do you think?
I have heard that. I actually talked about that at length on my podcast today.
Nice.
I had not heard those rumors. I don't generally pal around with a lot of Democrat House members, but given just how widespread these allegations are, it seems very likely that it was widely known on the Democrat side.
Did they have an obligation to come forward sooner then before an outlet broke it?
I think everyone who knew about it should have come forward.
Very good. Thank you, Ted.
Now, it's also worth mentioning that Eric Swolwell was not the only person announcing his resignation this week. It's widely known that Tony Gonzalez on Monday of this week announced his resignation after the House Ethics Committee launched a probe into him, investigating a romantic relationship he had with a former staffer who unfortunately later died by suicide. Now, with names like Eric Swolwell and Tony Gonzalez already in the spotlight, there is another situation here on Capitol Hill that is escalating quickly, and that's the one regarding Corey Mills. Corey Mills is facing mounting pressure amid a growing ethics investigation against him, along with separate personal misconduct allegations, which are adding scrutiny. And the House Ethics Committee is investigating whether or not he may have improperly benefited from business interests during his time in the House of Representatives. And it is one of the fastest growing issues internally in the Republican Party right now, because Corey Mills himself is a Republican.
The same people that are doing all this stuff are still called the honorable or congressman or congresswoman. They're doing this to their staff, and then we're being looped into it, having to deal with the mess that they created when they should really not even be here.
Seems like you're pointing the finger exclusively at the Democratic Party.
No, I'm not pointing it at this. I said 3/4 of Congress voted to not release those funds. If there is evidence of wrongdoing in the event of Corey Mills, he should resign.
What's the environment like right now in the House of Representatives after these resignations?
Well, they don't like TMZ being here.
All right, so I'm joined here today with Congresswoman Paulina Luna. She's been so kind to delegate about 10 to 15 minutes out of her schedule to us at TMZ. I guess I'll start off by asking, it's been a very eventful first week back from recess for a lot of the House members, specifically in regards to what's going on with Tony Gonzalez and Eric Swolwell. It's been reported that you've said that there are more disgusting things to come, and I'm wondering, what do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, those members both thankfully resigned. As you know, I was one of the members that actually brought forward the expulsion resolution on Swolwell. And I want to be very specific about the difference between allegations and evidence. So both Tony Gonzalez and Swolwell had either admitted directly or there was evidence of inappropriate relationship with their staff, which is immediate grounds for expulsion or resignation, as it's a violation of our House rules, period. Now, both instances in both gentlemen, there was text messages that I had actually obtained referencing Tony Gonzalez that were not released to the press. They were not because of the fact that the widow of one of the women that committed suicide, or one of his staffers that had committed suicide, they have a child, and this was not something that the family wanted publicly circulated, but I was able to make these text messages known to appropriate authorities to help with support of the expulsion for Tony. If it actually came down to that. Referencing Eric Swolwell, you saw that there was a public admission of his own errors in judgment, as well as an apology to his wife. And then now you are seeing stuff starting to come out specifically with him, not just allegations, but there's also videos, etc. But we also currently have 2 members of Congress that are under congressional investigation with House Ethics, one of which stole $5 million. That's not something that's made up. She was found guilty on 25 of 27 charges, something like that, which is really crazy. And my whole thing is this: I don't care about party affiliation, but if you are going to knowingly and maliciously break congressional ethics, you shouldn't be here. If you are knowingly breaking the law and doing something illegal, you should not be here. And so instead of forcing your colleagues to go through this, instead of distracting from the business of the American people, you guys need to do the right thing and resign. And so I'm not going to be protecting anyone. I think that this needs to flush out. I was also just unfortunately made, and I don't go looking for this stuff, okay? But I was made aware of something today, and granted, again, big difference between allegations and then evidence coming out. But someone associated with Eric Swolwell, that's a senator, so I actually forwarded that information to Senator John Thune. I'm not in Senate, but if I were him, I would look into that.
I want to touch on something you briefly said, with regards to you not caring about party affiliation. In this instance, well, if you're going to break the law, or you're going to go against the rules, so to speak, you shouldn't be here. So in the case of someone like Corey Mills, who many believe is not fit to represent the people, what do you say to those people?
Well, I think that ethics has had now for multiple, I think going on years, a congressional investigation into him. Based on what I saw with him, I voted to censure him. That was a vote that was actually pushed off because the Democrats did not want to censure one of their own members of Congress. So they referred it to ethics. So anytime something is referred to ethics, that means it's where it goes to die, and that's basically how they cover it up. The same thing goes to stand for the Congressional Slush Fund that was being used, taxpayer dollars, to pay for people that were settling, members of Congress that were settling either sexual assault or sexual harassment claims within their office. So I also voted to expose that. 3/4 of Congress voted against it. In Committee on Oversight, we voted to subpoena, and we'll be releasing those as soon as we get them back in the next week. The point is, though, is that, again, my position has not changed. So if there is evidence of wrongdoing in the event of Corey Mills, he should resign. If there's evidence of illegal activity, he should resign. He should not force the expulsion vote. But I don't know what's going to happen with that. I've also said specifically that I did call the motion to expel on Swolwell, but I have heard other members that have either already filed motions of expulsion against Sheila McCormick. I've heard stuff floated about Corey Mills, and I'm not going to be protecting anything. That's not what I'm here to do.
Well, then that brings me to my next question, which is, you just said that, use the words covering up, especially with regards to the hush fund, right? And it seems like you're pointing the finger exclusively at the Democratic Party. Do you think that happens within your own party?
No, I'm not pointing it at this. I said 3/4 of Congress voted to not release those funds. That means Republicans did that too.
Do you think that, you mentioned that there are people settling sexual harassment lawsuits within their own offices. Again, do you think that anything like that is happening on the other side of the political spectrum with Republicans?
Yeah, I've called it out, yeah.
Okay. And, I think what people are wondering is, are you going to hold the members that belong to your party in the same regard as the people that are doing the same things in the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I actually had filed the motion to expel Tony Gonzalez, but I couldn't pair them, so a Democrat brought it instead of me.
And so what's the environment like right now in the House of Representatives after these resignations? Do you want to touch on that?
Well, they don't like TMZ being here, which I find funny, so you guys should stay. The second thing would be, though, is that I think people are so frustrated with the fact that we're even having to spend time discussing this and that these people are doing this, because the same people that are doing all this stuff are still called the honorable or congressman or congresswoman. They're doing this to their staff, and then we're being looped into it, having to deal with the mess that they created when they should really not even be here. And so there's a lot of frustration. The term that's been commonly used is it's time to take out the trash, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And that's why I'm just like, you know what? I knew that in bringing forward the motion for expulsion on Swolwell, it would start a chain reaction. I went on record with that, and I'm totally cool with it. But I also think that the Senate has some investigating that they need to do. The fact is that I think back in 2018, there was a big reform to congressional ethics, and they actually had to put it into law that you can't have a sexual relationship with your staff. It's crazy that they even had to do that. I actually know for a fact that one of my predecessors had actually done that. And obviously, when you're in a position of power, when you're legislating, when you're actually voting on the laws of the land, you can't be doing that kind of stuff. There's so many reasons for it, but I think the main thing would be is that it creates a toxic work environment. It's not okay. And then also, too, you have a lot of young people, both men and women, that come up here to actually do something good. And when they have bosses that are essentially either engaging in predatory behavior or doing that, it wouldn't be tolerated in corporate America. Why should it be tolerated here? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, you know, for us specifically, how are we able to focus on our constituent services, our work for the people, when this is what we're dealing with here? And so I think that we need a hard reset. I think we need a purge, and then I'd really like to get back to the business of the American people, which we're doing simultaneously, but this is a complete distraction. It's unnecessary, but it's happening because these people can't get their shit together.
Interesting. You said there was a catchphrase floating around here, which is, it's time to take out the trash.
Yeah.
Can you touch on, even gently, specifically who the trash might be?
Well,
in this
those
scenario?
engaging in illegal activity.
No one specific comes to mind?
I think the names are publicly out there, but I would say there's probably a dumpster fire in Sheila McCormick's office that needs to go.
Really?
Corey's not looking too good, so Corey needs to probably have a reflection amongst himself and see what he wants to do. But there's some other people as well in the Senate that I think are going to flush out. Those would be questions for, I think, Jonathan.
Interesting. So what's next for Paulina Luna? You know, you just came back from a recess. Before this interview started, you said that things weren't too hectic, that you were managing quite well. What's going on with you?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story. When my comms director first started, it was the week that I did the vote by proxy for New Moms in Congress, and I shut down the House floor. And I was taking a lot of heat from my own party, and my comms director calls me and goes, "Is this a crisis?" And I was like, "No, it's a Tuesday." And I think that on Capitol Hill, you just have to be able to multitask and understand that these things happen, they ebb and flow, but also you can redirect, I think, the business of the American people. So my top policies positions that I've been championing that actually got guaranteed pledges for votes on is banning insider trading. That'll happen soon. They told me that if I was to go after the insider trading in Congress, that I was going to break the institution, cost us the midterms, that I was going to be responsible for people not paying for their kids' college education.
Really?
Yeah, I took a lot of crap for that, and we ended up actually getting a bipartisan bill together, and we got support because then they saw the polling on this, realized it's one of the most popular issues in the country, but I had to take a lot of heat on that. Obviously, voter ID is a massively popular issue. I've been really, really fighting with the Senate on that, and you're seeing that fight kind of take place right now with FISA, which is also not so good in the current form. With certain reforms, it could be even better, but I am fighting to put voter ID on that because it's a must-pass piece of legislation. We have capping student loan interest at 2%. That's not popular, but I think it's a midterm, so I think people will actually get behind it. So we're going to be doing a discharge petition on that. That's where you collect signatures. And then in my free time, I'm standing up a special tactics squadron in Florida. So I'm doing this on top of my investigations into UAPs, on top of doing a hearing on MK Ultra. So I guess I have a lot on my hands.
Okay, so I know for a fact they'll want to know about that. Hang on.
UAPs or MK Ultra?
Both.
Or my special tactics squadron?
I want to do both.
Okay, so the hearing on MK Ultra will be noticed here in the next probably 2 weeks or so. I am the chairwoman of the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. If you don't know what MK Ultra is, you'll be super freaked out. Go on the CIA.gov website, check out some of the declassified files, but there's going to be a lot there. That should be actually a really spicy hearing. We just sent a request to the Department of War to give us over 40 photos, videos, and reports on UAP. And someone at the Department of War did not receive the letter. They lost it. And so they came back with some response saying, oh, we'll give you a briefing at some, future date. No, you guys are going to give us the information. And also Secretary Hegseth is my friend. And so I guarantee he is not aware of this, as well as the president authorizing what he did with the declassification of that. And so someone's trying to be cute at the Pentagon, wouldn't recommend trying to be cute with me. And so that's, I think, just a number of things that we have going on right now.
Very interesting. Now I have
I'm expelling people in my free time.
Okay, good. Well, I have one last question for you. But based off this interview, you said that a lot of Congress isn't happy that TMZ is here.
Correct. They don't like you guys being here.
I mean, how have you found this interview? And do you have a message to everyone else in the House of Representatives?
I personally like you guys being here. I think you guys need to follow up on every single lead that you guys are getting. And I think you need to make sure that you guys apply for a press pass so that you guys can get into the no press spaces or the press only spaces, so you guys can get these people on the record, because a lot of people will say stuff on camera and then when you hold their feet to the fire, as you can see, it's like turning lights on and the cockroaches scurry. That's kind of like the Hill. You're the light bulb.
Yeah, I think the press passes dangling around, they kind of take away from our amazing outfits. Obviously we're dressed to be here.
Well,
we're just to impress. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you
so much.
Appreciate it.
You've been awesome. Thank you.